Where would Patrick fit into things today if he was around? What would we classify him as?
He would have been a fundamentalist, apocalypticist, millenarian.
What would Patrick have made of St. Patrick's Day celebrations with the green hats, green clothing and green beer?
He would have been shocked. Number one, he didn't think the world was going to last very much longer, so the fact that there's anyone around today would have been a major shock. And as for beer, he wasn't a party animal. He thought the end was coming because people were doing too much partying. And here it is having a party 1,500 years on. Wow.
There's no doubt that St. Patrick is the most celebrated of our patron saints. He's become synonymous with partying, and there are parades and events on his Saint's Day around the world, including New York, Thailand, Moscow, and even Japan. But in Northern Ireland, celebrating St. Patrick has been problematic. Belfast, on the front line of the sectarian divide, has witnessed generations of violence, both sides claiming Patrick as their own. Patrick came from a time before the religious divide between Protestant and Catholic. This is a community ripped apart and battered. But as they now hope and work towards a lasting peace, can Patrick become a symbol of unity between Protestants and Catholics? St. Patrick's Day has frequently been a hotspot for violence throughout the Troubles in Northern Ireland, where Catholics and Protestants have fought over Patrick as a symbol of political identity. Peacetime parade organisers have promoted cross-community events, but watching this section of the carnival beginning on the Falls Road, Republican tricolour flags were proudly flown, and the message they sent to the police service of Northern Ireland seemed clear. As the carnival descends on Belfast City Hall, it has become a sea of Irish Republican colours. The Protestant community has clearly stayed away, and their politicians on the City Council had helped block the funding. Well, you're trying to bring St. Patrick's here, so what does St. Patrick mean to the people of Belfast?
St. Patrick obviously means a lot of different things. You know, if you come from a religious background, you go in depth into the historical and religious background of St. Patrick himself. The day itself has become synonymous with celebrating Irishness.
So why wouldn't the city fund it?
My own opinion of it is that politicians do like to be in the limelight. They do like to create problems when there maybe isn't one. And therefore they have focused on the issue of the Irish tricolour, and they've tried to get the committee to tell people out there not to bring the Irish tricolour to the city centre. Our position on that is clear, that it would be wrong to do that. People do genuinely see themselves as Irish in the city of Belfast.
It seems to me that different factions have hijacked the day. You've got the tricolours, you've got your attempt to make it something which is cross-party, and then there's the complete absence of Union Jacks. So is everybody fighting over Patrick here?
It's not being hijacked by anybody. There's an expression of Irishness that people are building on and are expressing themselves on.
But what does Irishness mean?
What does Irishness mean? It means...
Does it mean all of Ireland or Northern Ireland or everybody in Ireland? How does that work?
Well, it depends on where you look at it. I personally have my own view on it. I mean, Irishness to me is something very enriching. It's about music. It's about fun.
I see it as almost partisan. Is that a misinterpretation?
When you do delve into the Irish tricolour, it's more relevant to St. Patrick maybe than some people would realise, in terms of the green and the orange on one side and the white in the middle for peace, in terms of bringing everybody together. That's a good message. Now, I understand it's a divided city and some people feel put off by that, but we cannot ask people not to bring that if that's what they feel. I mean, there's some people in Belfast who consider themselves to be British. Let's come in and join in the fun. You'll find a big welcoming arm from people who are there, no matter what they're wearing, no matter what they're flying, they will have a welcoming arm around them to come in and embrace the fun and carnival aspect of what St. Patrick's Day is about. That's what we're trying to do.
Uniting behind the colours of the Republican flag would be an incredibly hard thing to ask Protestant Unionists here in Belfast to do. Whether the carnival organisers intended it or not, these St. Patrick's Day celebrations, to me, feel unmistakably one-sided. So is Patrick stuck in another Northern Irish stalemate? Or could the Protestant community accept the warm arm of friendship that Conor believes his parade offers? Now, we all know that Orangemen are famous for their marching, but not for marching for St. Patrick. I've come to Ballymena, just outside of Belfast, to find out why. Some Protestants believe Patrick was primarily an apostle to Ulster. Ballymena is 10 miles from Slemish Mountain, where the legends say Patrick lived as a slave. Orangemen have held separate marches for St. Patrick's since the 1980s. So how do Protestants in Ballymena view the attempts in Belfast to make the celebrations cross-community? I was there on St. Patrick's Day in the city centre, in Belfast. But what's your reading of it? Do you think it was a success?
I don't think so. I was there too. I wasn't in the crowd. I was actually in the City Hall looking down on the crowd. And looking down from that perspective, you could see quite clearly when people were celebrating after a song or enjoying a song and they started to wave, it was Irish tricolours that were being waved. And that's not a flag that my community would identify with.
Did you feel threatened?
Well, I was inside the City Hall, they were outside. I wouldn't have felt comfortable at all being down in that crowd. I don't think that would have been possible. I think we need to get the folk in Belfast to learn that lesson so that they will have an event outside the City Hall on St. Patrick's Day, which isn't about tricolours and Irish republicanism. It's about celebrating the cultural diversity that makes Northern Ireland what it is.
What do you feel you would have to do to your event to make it much more inclusive?
That particular event, I think, can be inclusive in that it can be enjoyed by anyone. They are essentially colourful community festival celebrations. And I think...
But come on. I mean, it means much more than that. The Orange Lodge, the Orange marches, when they're beamed around the world, they're very much associated with a particular group. So how can you make your St. Patrick's Day event one that brings people in? Shouldn't you maybe get rid of the orange?
I don't want to stop people in another religious tradition having services to mark St. Patrick's Day. That's their right. We believe in civil and religious liberty for everyone. That's their right. We have our right too. We wouldn't want to interfere with theirs. We would hope that people would respect ours. We have to get an understanding of St. Patrick's Day where it's not about celebrating Irish republicanism or Irish nationalism.
Or Protestantism?
People should be free to celebrate what they want to.
It seems like you're saying the Catholics can't make it a nationalist thing, but you can be free to do your thing and make Patrick a Protestant thing.
You've misunderstood my point there. What I'm saying is that people from that tradition, if they want to celebrate in a particular way, that's fine for them. My identity, my tradition is somewhat different. I want to be able to celebrate that. So the concept of St. Patrick's Day being the day when everybody becomes Irish automatically will exclude the most of the Protestant community.
So it seems Patrick the missionary has become political football here in Northern Ireland. The sectarian divide between Protestants and Catholics over ownership of their patron saint is still clearly evident. So is it realistic to suggest that Patrick can become a figure of unification?